And we're at the top of the hour, and I want to honor your commitment for being here on time by having an opportunity to jump right into today's masterclass. And I want to welcome you to this Master Your Life presentation. You know, I've had a lot of people ask me lately about how they can overcome a tendency to consistently put things off they know that they need to do. And as a result of that, nothing ever gets done. So I'm going to tackle a challenge today that many people are struggling with all over the world, and that is procrastination. So I want to spend a few minutes teaching how you can master your mindset, because procrastination truly is a mindset issue. And in that, I want to give you some action steps to be able to take so that you can eliminate procrastination and start getting more things done. Now, if you're just now jumping in and joining us, I want to encourage you to grab a pen and a piece of paper, and let's get ready to take some notes and learn some things that are going to be beneficial to you. Now, there's a huge gap between knowing what to do and actually taking the action steps necessary to get things done. But here's what I've learned, and it's interesting. Some people are hardwired to procrastinate, while other people are hardwired for quick action. You may be a procrastinator or you may be an action taker, but under stress or distress, that may change. We're going to talk about that in this session today. But I want to share some good news. Procrastination is a mindset issue. And even a procrastinating mind can be rewired to stop making excuses and start taking action. So let me tell you this, you're in the right place if you want to learn how to stop putting things off and become a more decisive action-taking person. Now, in case you don't know who I am, let me quickly introduce myself. What do? I'm John Terry. I'm known as the Black Belt Leader. I've been a financial success and wellness coach to the financial services industry for over 30 years. I've been a leadership coach to the martial arts industry for well over 30 years. I'm a two-time Martial Arts Hall of Fame inductee who's focused on one thing: helping people learn to become Black Belt leaders in life and achieving their personal and professional potential. One of the things I teach in my book, Black Belt Leadership, is that Black Belt leaders are kinetic, action-oriented people, because in martial arts, as it is in life, if you procrastinate, you lose. Now think about that. You're in a fight and you procrastinate and say, I'm not going to put my hands up. It's probably not going to be a good day for you. Now, you can learn a little bit more about me by visiting my website, but I also want to mention real quickly, I'm president of Real Life Management, which is a human behavior intelligence company focused on helping people remove the roadblocks that are limiting their personal and professional success. And we're going to talk about a few of those roadblocks in our training session today. Now, at Real Life Management, we've developed a proprietary 3-minute assessment tool that can let you discover who you truly are and can identify in 3 minutes or less whether you tend to procrastinate or not. You'll find that free resource at reallifemanagement.com, and I'll talk about that at the end of our training. But I'm not here to spend a lot of time talking about me, but I want to spend the next several minutes we're together talking about how I can help you to procrastinate less and get more done as you become more action focused and more decisive. Now, I want to start with the definition of procrastination. And that definition is pretty simple. It's the act of delaying, postponing, or avoiding things that need to be done. Putting off until tomorrow what you know should be done today. You've probably heard that said by your parents. I know my mom constantly was on me about putting things off until tomorrow that needed to be done today. Now, we're all guilty of procrastinating at some point in our lives. We all put off something that's not fun to do, that's unpleasant, the things we really don't want to do, but we know need to be done, like mowing the grass as an example. From time to time, we do that. But problems arise when procrastination in your life and in my life begins to become the accepted normal for how we live. Procrastination isn't healthy. For example, let me give you one. If procrastination becomes chronic in your life and it extends to matters of health and self-improvement, you may be at risk of disease, injury, or illness if you're not taking care of yourself, putting off until tomorrow what you know you should be doing today. And here's the thing, procrastination can take many different forms in our lives. Sometimes it appears as what we call laziness. Other times it can come across as indifference. And at other times we can appear quite busy, but we're still really not getting anything meaningful done. That too is procrastination. So let me give you a couple examples of what I mean here. If you're binge watching Netflix or Tubi or one of the other streaming services that are out there, or when you get off work, you go spend all your time hanging out with your friends rather than doing what you know needs to get done to develop yourself or to accomplish tasks you know have to get done in your life, this is, quote, lazy mode. But here's another example. If you're constantly baking cookies when you know you've got a deadline at work or housework that needs to get done, or you know you need to study for an exam, that's another form of procrastination that maybe you haven't considered was procrastination. So how do you know? How do I know? How do we all know when we're procrastinating? What are the signs, the reasons, and the excuses that you and I lose? Well, according to research by Real Life Management, between 20 and 25% of America is hardwired to procrastinate. Now think about that. 1 in 4 to 1 in 5 people you and I live life with every day have been hardwired to procrastinate. It's a pattern of behavior that they learned and developed in the early formative years of their lives. Now, here's something else we know from Real Life Management is under stress, procrastination can become a chronic condition that can trap you and I in an endless cycle of not moving forward. Financial stress, broken relationships, job loss, career disappointments, failed business, deflated dreams, struggles with self-worth, struggles with self-esteem, all of these things can contribute to issues of procrastination in our lives. And it may seem harmless to put off what's important or necessary for a little while, but when it becomes a habit, our brain now accepts this as normal. And as a result of that, that becomes the default way that you and I choose to live life. And when we choose to live life by constantly procrastinating, we never get things done. And from a stress management perspective, let me share this. Procrastination only adds to the stress you're having because you ultimately know there are things that have to get done for your life to be able to move forward. And the longer you put it off, the greater the stress and anxiety that you put upon yourself. And as that builds within you, it exasperates that procrastination. And in severe issues where this continues to build the stress and anxiety, it can lead you to the point you simply give up and you stop trying. It's not a recipe for success or fulfillment in life, but sadly, it happens all too often. So how do you know when you're procrastinating? There's a number of signs that are out there, some of those quite obvious, but there's a lot of other subtle signs that will remind you that procrastination is there. And understand this, procrastination leaves clues. So what are some of these telltale signs? You're habitually late. You struggle with decision making. Your to-do list never gets done, but it only gets longer. You focus more on the what you want to do rather than what you need to do. You consistently put things off until later, and you struggle to manage yourself and end up wasting a lot of time in the process. I think you and I, as we look at these, we can probably all say, I've done at least one of these this past week. That's a sign of procrastination. But the challenge for you, the challenge for I, the challenge for all of us is to understand what motivates us to procrastinate. Here's what I can tell you. It's an issue of your attitude, the hardwiring that was developed in the early formative years of your life that is now supported by what you believe to be true. All of this influences your thoughts and your choices. Now, we're all going to procrastinate for different reasons. So the initial challenge to overcome procrastination for you, for me, and for everyone else is to discover why you procrastinate. For some of us, it may be the plague of perfectionism. While this may sound good to want to be perfect, the striving of perfectionism and perpetual perfectionism can be problematic. Now, you may say, John, it's great to be perfect. I want to strive every day to move towards perfection. And it's a great quality. It's a great thing to move forward. And anybody that's involved in personal professional development know your goal every day is to become a better version of yourself. But if the goal is perfectionism, this can become quite detrimental to your overall success in life. Why? Because perfectionism is oftentimes misconstrued for having high standards. But with perfectionism, this is an issue that as a standard of living, you're never going to be able to fully achieve. Perfectionism is unrealistic because none of us on this call, none of us listening to this replay in the future are going to ever be perfect in our lives. And procrastination as a result of a perfectionism comes from knowing we've got a standard that we've set for ourselves that we're never going to achieve. So your brain begins to ask, why even try? Another why for many people is fear. I'm not sure I can do this. And procrastination, from a number of studies in neuroscience, show that procrastination has its origins in our thoughts and in our emotions. Fear being among the chief of those emotions that hold us back. From the fear of failure to the fear of success, fear in our lives can be crippling, and it can literally drive us to our knees and prevent us from moving forward. Think about it this way. If you're fearful of failure, or you feel guilty over past mistakes, or you're angry at yourself or others for something you did not do, we're much more likely to continue to put off knowing what we need to do. Why? Because those negative emotions cloud our ability to be decisive, to make good choices or any choice at all, rather than to keep doing nothing. And as a result of fear and anger and guilt and those negative emotions in our lives, what happens? We end up making self-sabotaging decisions that don't serve us well. Now, on the flip side of that, some people are actually fearful of success. Yeah, believe it or not, it's true. Now, why is that? Because success is for the moment. And then once you achieve success, many people put pressure on themselves, both internally and externally, to repeat the process of being successful. I've got to do it again. I've got to win at any level. I've got to do better than I did last time. And as a result of that, they put pressure on themselves to get there and then to stay there. And this pressure can cause some people to, again, engage in those self-sabotaging behaviors, procrastination being one of the chief among them. One of the examples I often hear is, John, I just didn't have enough time to get things done. Now, that sounds like a great excuse, but what really happened is this. I didn't want to do what was necessary to truly succeed, and so I allowed the time to get away from me. That's what many times we're saying when we say, I just didn't have enough time. What we're actually saying is, I didn't use the time to the best advantage I had to get done what I needed to get done to be successful. And when we're fearful of failure, we feel guilty. When we're fearful of success, we fear what's going to happen when we succeed, and then we have to repeat. Now, a lack of motivation is oftentimes related to expectations. This too can cause us to procrastinate. If you don't feel motivated to clean the house, to mow the lawn, to wash the car, to do that remedial thing at work that has to get done every day to move things forward, the lack of motivation can become a very powerful excuse not to take action. Procrastinators tend to believe they've got to be highly motivated to start something and finish something. And if they don't feel motivated, it simply becomes an excuse to not do what needs to be done and simply say, I'm just not feeling it today. Have you been there? Have you done that? I've been there, done that in my life. And it's an area I try to be conscious of so that I make sure I don't take the steps that move me in the wrong direction or simply cause me to stop moving forward at all. Now, we have to admit there are some things in life we have to do that simply aren't fun to do. Cleaning the bathroom, having to scrub the toilet every once in a while. Simply not a fun thing to do, but if you're a homeowner, it's something that's got to get done. And let's be honest with ourselves. You, I, all of us, we're all guilty of putting something off, things off that we find dull or boring or unappealing. But the longer we put them off, the more it's going to build the stress and anxiety in our lives to get them done. And what we're actually doing by putting off until tomorrow, what we should be doing today, is we're simply pushing more work into tomorrow that creates more stress in our lives. And the question I love to ask when I talk to people that are dealing with chronic procrastination is, how's that working out for you? And the answer I always get is, John, not very well. Now, another reason we procrastinate is the fact that you and I live in a world that is technologically driven. It is far too easy for you and I to lose focus on getting the important things done. I read a stat the other day that absolutely blew me away, and it made me understand what's going on in the lives of many of our kids today and why our kids aren't as productive as maybe they were a couple of generations back. Here's what I've learned, and it's another reason why I personally believe kids don't need smartphones early in life. Americans, did you know this? Americans check their smartphones an average, get this, 344 times a day. Let me say that again. Average Americans, kids and adults, are checking their smartphone 344 times a day. That's 344 distractions a day taking place every day in your life and my life. You and I, if we're engaged in email, on average, we waste nearly 2.5 hours a day simply checking and replying to email at work and at home. We spend another 147 minutes, over 2 hours a day, scrolling through social media, and we spend another 20 to 25 minutes average every day playing games on our smartphones. Now, add all that up, and what do we have? Over half of our day is consumed by distractions. Holy cow. It's no wonder we're procrastinating and not getting things done. And you may be saying, John, I came here to learn how to procrastinate. All you've done up to this point is depress me of all the things I already know I'm doing that are allowing me not to see the success in my life I want. So maybe you're asking, how do I fix this? So I want to take the next few minutes in this presentation, and I want to give you some real life things that you and I can do to stop procrastinating and to start taking more control, learning to master our mindset and master our lives. Now, I want to open that with a quote, and I want to share a quote from one of my mentors, Chris Robinson. And it's a very powerful statement, and I want you to write it down. And I'm going to say it a couple of times so you can do so. Here's what Chris reminds me often when I'm on a call and he's doing some coaching and mentoring with me. He says, John, it's not that you can't, it's that you won't. And that choice is yours. And let me repeat that again, because that's worth repeating and that's worth writing down, putting it on a Post-it note and sticking it on your monitor at work every day as a reminder to stop procrastinating. Here it is. It's not that you can't, it's that you won't. And that choice is yours. I'll say that one more time. It's not that you can't, it's that you won't. And that choice is yours. Every time I have a conversation with Chris and he shares that statement with me, it's one of those ouch moments that I got my toes stepped on. But sometimes you and I simply have to hear the truth. It's not that you can't, it's that you won't. And you and I are making that choice every single day of our lives. So it starts with mindset, your attitudinal hardwiring, and the underlying beliefs that support it. So depending on how you were raised, the influences in your life in those early formative years of our lives, you or I tend to make decisions either based upon logic and fact, our emotions, or a blend of both. And if your head, in terms of what logic and intellect are telling you to do, and your heart, your emotions and feelings are in conflict with each other, and you don't know how to proceed because there's conflict, what happens? Procrastination happens as a result. If you're obsessed with being perfect, the fear of making a mistake and not having all the boxes checked on your list before you can move forward, what does that do? It fosters procrastination. And in an effort to get it all right up front before you get started, you end up never starting at all. And here's something else I can tell you from real life management is this. If you see yourself as inadequate, inferior, or in some way lacking, this can lead to procrastination. In fact, this is such a prevailing problem. I even wrote a book last year on how to overcome those feelings of inadequacy in your life. Master your self-confidence, learning how to silence the nagging little voice in the back of your head that keeps telling you I can't, and how to replace that with I can and I will. Now, you have to face the fear if you're going to overcome procrastination. What is fear? Most of the time, it's false evidence appearing real. Let me say that again. Fear, false evidence appearing real. Understand this. Simply because you and I have failed in the past, it doesn't mean that you're a failure. It simply means what you tried didn't work. Go try something else. But the problem with most people is when they fail, they stop trying. In the martial arts, in boxing in particular, I've heard it said it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you keep getting back up and keep going that determines how successful you're going to be. And the same is true in life. Think of Thomas Edison discovering the incandescent light bulb. He failed over 1,000 times to create the incandescent light bulb. And had he allowed failure to become permanent in his life, we wouldn't have the incandescent light bulb today. The most successful people in the world, Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, Andrew Carnegie, Nikola Tesla, I can go on and name some of the greatest inventors that ever lived. They failed often, but they learned an important lesson. They learned to embrace failure as a friend. And as my mentor, Dr. John Maxwell says, they learned to fail early, to fail often, and to fail forward. So when you and I challenge the fear that we all experience because we've all failed, we've all made mistakes, we've all procrastinated, here's what we find when we challenge fear. Fear is a limiting belief. And once it's examined and challenged, you and I can begin to see fear for the lie that it truly is. So here's some questions that you can ask yourself to learn to face the fear. What are you afraid of? Is it failure? Is it success? Or is it something else? What's the worst possible thing that could happen if you faced the fear and took that uncomfortable step forward? Here's another one. Is there a legitimate reason not to take action and move forward, or am I just procrastinating because of what happened in the past? Am I trying to convince myself of something that isn't true? Is there a strategic or tactical advantage to waiting, or is it going to cost me time and money if I don't take action now? Is this just procrastination that I'm disguising as an excuse because I don't want to do what I know needs to be done right now? Am I trying to protect myself from failure or from success or from an outcome that gets me in that uncomfortable place where growth happens in our lives? How about this one? Am I actually scared, or was I just told it was scary? These powerful questions can help you face the fear and overcome procrastination. Now, getting yourself organized can also be very powerful in helping you overcome procrastination, because far too many people go through life by default, allowing habitual patterns of behavior to dictate how we live life. To experience real life and more real life, and to experience to the fullest, you've got to prioritize your day. You and I, we've all been given 24 hours in a day. Some don't get 22 and others get 26. We all have 24 hours in a day. And by identifying what are the important things you've got to do that need to be done each and every day, and writing those things down, putting them on a calendar, putting them as a reminder that's going to be in front of you, can allow you to be more productive and get more things done. But writing things down to get things done is just a start. It's not the completion of the task. As you're making a list of the things that you need to do, here's an action step, what I like to call an extra for experts. When you say this has to be done, assign a deadline to that to do. Now you've got something to hold yourself accountable. By 12 o'clock today, I'm going to do 1, 2, and 3. And then when 12 o'clock rolls around and you get ready to walk out the door for lunch, you've got to have a man in the mirror, woman in the mirror moment with yourself and look at yourself and say, I got those 3 things done. I can go eat. Or I didn't finish those. I've got to go to lunch late because these things have got to get done. When you create a list, you create a to-do list, and you assign a deadline to it, it becomes a metric that you can measure. And as you get those things done, you can now go back and celebrate your success. And the celebration of successes build momentum that allow you to keep progressing and keep getting better. Now, here's another tip. Break your to-do list down into chunks. This can be invaluable in looking at eating an elephant that you've got to devour and all the things you've got to get done and doing it one bite at a time. So here's an example of how to do this. If you're thinking into all the things that have to be done over the next 12 months, let's break that down into baby steps. Out of all the things that need to be accomplished in your life, personally, professionally, or both, what does it look like for the next 12 months? Now, let's break that down into what needs to be done over the next 3 months that gets me closer to what I need to do for the next 12. And if I can break that 12 months down into 4 quarters, I just chunked down what I needed to get done for the next 12 months. And then after I chunked it down to quarters, let's take it even narrower. Let's break it down into what do I need to do each month to accomplish my goals for the quarter so I can accomplish my goals for the years. Then let's break it down even further from that. What do I need to do each week so that each month I'm successful in reaching my quarterly goals so my quarterly goals move me to my annual big, hairy, audacious goal that I've set for myself. And then inside of that week, what are the small incremental things you need to do every day to get things done that week so that at the end of 4 weeks, you've accomplished everything you wanted to do that month. And every month you do that. And in 3 months, you've exceeded your goals and expectations for the quarter. Breaking things down into these baby steps, get things done. What happens is when we see the elephant we've got to eat and we see the massiveness of this big, hairy, audacious thing we've got to accomplish, it's intimidating. That can cause us to step back and not take action. But when you break those to-do downs into baby steps, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and then daily, all of a sudden, that big elephant we've got to eat isn't as overwhelming. I've only got to take 3 bites today. Now you've just eliminated stress. You've got confidence to say, I may not be able to eat the whole elephant today, but I can eat 3 bites today and 3 bites tomorrow and 3 bites the next day. And over the course of a year, I've eaten that elephant and I've seen success. And every day you can see the elephant getting smaller because you're taking those small chunks and you're getting them done. And here's what I can tell you from my own personal life and the life of many of the clients I've worked with over the last 3 decades. Nothing builds momentum like seeing yourself getting more things done and becoming more and more successful. Now, we already talked about all the distractions we have to deal with every day. Getting those distractions out of the way is one of the best ways we can take control of ourselves. And learning to take control of ourselves is one of the major steps that you've got to do to get more things done and stop procrastinating. So when you remove the distraction and their ability to detour you from what needs to be done, you're going to be more productive and your confidence is going to grow. So let me share some tips with you on how you can remove distractions from your life. We've already talked about one of those. Create high productivity time chunks. Take what needs to be done and break it down into daily. And even from there, breaking it down into morning and afternoon, or even go so micro that what do I need to do each hour to make sure I'm getting a major project done on time. The more you can chunk it down, the easier it is to get things done. Number 2, check email only at designated times during the day. Many of the folks that I do coaching with, many of the organizations we go in to do productivity training with, we challenge them to check email once in the morning and once towards the end of the day. And in Other times, have a note. I only check email at these times. If you've sent me a note in between, I will see your message at the next time I check. And then if it's something urgent, there's instructions on what to do to reach out to another team member in the event something is urgent. Now, here's a biggie. Turn off your social media sites while you're working, because if in the background you're constantly hearing the ding and the chirp and the whir and all the noises these social media sites can make as these notifications are coming to you, this can be a huge distraction. Silence that cell phone and resist the urge to check it, or better yet, stick it in a drawer and put it somewhere that you can't see it. Maybe for you, you need to put your smartphone on airplane mode so you're not even tempted to see what's there because nothing's coming in on your phone while you're working. For some people that have difficulty focus, wear noise canceling headphones that cancel out the noise around you so you can zero in on the task at hand. Or let me encourage you to do this. Create a reward system for getting things done. You want to celebrate your successes, and nothing celebrates successes by having a reward system for you. And in a team environment, if you're trying to build a high performance team, this is huge and powerful. It can be something as simple as everybody gets off 15 minutes early, or it's a pizza party, or you're going to bring in ice cream, or you're going to do something unique just to celebrate success as an organization. Eliminate unnecessary meetings. How many times have I been in an organization and looking at the things they're doing that are time wasters, and they're having a meeting simply for the sake of a meeting? And when I ask them why, the common answer is, well, I don't know. We've always done it this way. Challenge the status quo. That's how you change things for the better. You can also use the don't disturb feature on your phone to let people know that you're busy. These are some simple things, but if you want to be more successful and you want to achieve more in your life, you've got to remove the distractions that are causing you to procrastinate. You also want to tackle the hard stuff first. And this is something that most highly productive people agree upon. To really get ahead in life, you've got to move the big rocks first. And when you get these things done and get them out of the way, all of a sudden you look at all the little things left and say, you know, I did the hard things first and I got those done. I've got this. Confidence, productivity, and this desire to knock everything else out is going to allow you to get more done in less time so that you can either do more to improve your impact, your influence, and your income, or you can redeem some margin in your life and take some personal time for you. One of my individuals I love to study is Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha. And one of the amazing things we know about Warren Buffett is that Warren Buffett created what is called the Big Three. And here's one of the things that Warren Buffett is credited with putting together in the Big Three. And it's a great way to tackle the hard stuff first. On a piece of paper, draw a line down the middle. And on the left side, make a list of all of the to-do items you've got to do today. And then after you've done that, take a look at that list, circle the three most important things you've got to get done, and move them to the other side of the paper. Then after you've done that, tear the list long ways in half, keeping only the big three that need to get done, and throw the rest of the list away. Tackling the big three first is a major way to move things forward and get things done, and to help you be more successful in life. And then, of course, there's what's known as the 2-minute rule. Now, what's the 2-minute rule? It's simply this: answering this question: what can I do in the next 2 minutes if I'm highly focused and I'm giving 100% of my effort on the project, the task, or the to-do list at hand to move it forward in some way? You and I may not be able to think in 30-minute chunks or hour chunks, but we can all think for 2 minutes. We can watch TV or listen to a song on the radio or stream a song on Sirius XM for 2 minutes. If you can stay focused for 2 minutes, how much can you get done in a 2-minute chunk of time? And then can you repeat it for another 2 minutes? And then can you repeat it for another 2 minutes? This 2-minute rule is a powerful strategy that you can implement in your daily life, especially when you're dealing with a challenging, a difficult, or an unpleasant task that has to get done. Focused activity for 120 seconds eliminates the stress and anxiety of thinking, I've got all this I need to get done, and you just focus on one element of it for 2 minutes. Sometimes that 120-second time frame of focusing for 2 minutes is enough to get the momentum started to get you going forward. And I can tell you, in a number of organizations with a number of individuals I've worked with over the years, when they start using the 2-minute rule, here's what they've learned. They have to zero in and they really have to get productive. And what they find is this: that 2-minute rule becomes a catalyst that jumpstarts their creativity, helps them narrow in and zero in on the focus of getting things done. And they become highly productive as a result. Now, productivity also requires that you hold yourself accountable. That man in the mirror, woman in the mirror moment that you and I have to have with ourselves every single day. Remember the quote from my mentor, Chris Robinson: it's not that you can't, it's that you won't. And that choice is yours. Every day we choose to do or do not. One of my favorite quotes from Star Wars is Yoda in the original Star Wars series, where he's talking to Luke Skywalker in Luke's early training, and he's talking about trying. And Yoda says that famous phrase that if you're a Star Wars fan, you've heard it over and over again: do or do not. There is no try. Now, there's some easy ways that you can hold yourself accountable. It could simply be a checklist. We talked about that earlier. Or it could be building accountability into your online calendar, that you're seeing the things and you're calendaring what needs to be done. So you've got a system and a process to follow, especially if you struggle in the area of staying focused and staying on task. Maybe for you, it's going out and finding an application that you can put on your phone or to put on your desktop that will allow you to be more accountable and structure your day if structure and detail aren't really your strengths and your areas. Now, why is this important? Because accountability keeps you connected to the process. And the most successful people in the world understand and they manage systems and processes that drive success at every level. And when you manage the systems and processes and you stay connected to those through an accountability process, this can be a major motivator in your life. Now, another way you can hold yourself accountable is to have an accountability partner, someone who will encourage you, who will inspire you, who will challenge you, and who will give you that proverbial kick in the butt when you need it to get you moving forward when you're sitting on your duff and not doing what you know needs to be done. I love having an accountability partner, and I have several in my life because they hold me accountable. They challenge me. They let me have it when I'm not doing what I need to get done, but they continually inspire me. And as a result of that, when I achieve success in my life, they celebrate those successes right along with me. And here's something else you've got to do. You've got to quit making excuses. You and I need to understand that excuses are nothing more than an attempt. Get this, write this down. An excuse is nothing more than an attempt to lessen the blame, to defend what you didn't do, or justify a decision to not take action. It's an excuse to lessen the blame, defend, or justify a decision not to take action. Now, again, we've all procrastinated at some point in our lives, and let's be honest, you and I are likely to do it again at some point. But when you get into a pattern of behavior and procrastination becomes a lifestyle, that doesn't serve you well. And it definitely doesn't serve those around you well, because it only holds you back. It puts unnecessary stress on your life, and it limits your potential to experience more real life, to achieve your full personal and professional potential, and to become not just successful, but to have significance and make a difference in your life and the lives of other people. Now, you and I all have our 2 reasons for not starting or not finishing well. It might be, I'm too busy, or I'm too broke, or I'm too stressed, or that's too risky, or that's too uncertain for me. I'm too inexperienced. I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm too disruptive. That's too hard. It's too difficult. I just can't do that. It's not that you can't, it's that you won't. The list of excuses that you and I can make are endless in what we do. Now, some of those reasons may be valid, but 99.9% of the time, what are they? It's an attempt to justify, defend, or lessen the blame for not doing something that you and I know we should be doing. So I want to challenge you to do this. Challenge your excuses. Are they really a valid reason for not doing something? Or are you simply justifying, defending, or trying to lessen the blame because you didn't take action? When you find the why behind your excuse, you find the why behind your procrastination. So address the why, and now you can take the action tip to start moving forward. So as we get ready to wrap up, I want to give you a homework assignment. What is the one thing that you can commit to today as a result of what I've shared with you that you've been putting off for far too long? If there's one thing that you know needs to get done that you've been putting off, what is one thing that you can commit to right now today that you've been putting off for far too long? I want you to take a minute and think about that. And then what I want you to do is to go find a sticky note and write that down and stick that on your bathroom mirror, stick that on the monitor at work, stick that on the front of your car on the dashboard so that you can see that one thing I'm going to do today. And if you're really, really brave, throw it in the chat and let everyone see this is what I'm going to do today that I've been putting off for far too long. This is how you accomplish more, by making a conscious decision. I'm going to do something right now I know I should have already done, and I'm going to stop making excuses, and I'm going to start taking action. Because here's what I know. When you procrastinate less, you accomplish more. And the good news is this: you get to choose. And the bad news is this: you get to choose. Life is a series of choices and consequences. You and I get to choose our choices, and we experience the consequences of the choices we've made, including the choice to procrastinate. So if you want a better experience in your life, what do you need to do? Make better choices. If procrastination has become your status quo, what do you need to do? Challenge the status quo to change things for the better. Stop overthinking about what needs to be done and simply start taking action. One of the things one of my mentors says and continues to remind me, he says, jump and build your wings on the way down. Yet far too many of these think we've got to have everything in place. We've got to check all the boxes. We've got to make sure everything is completely ready before we start. And as a result of that, we never get started at all. But I want you to remember this: living real life and living it to the fullest doesn't happen by default. Living real life and experiencing it to the fullest is an intentional act of you learning, you growing, and you becoming a better version of yourself by developing yourself daily as a black belt leader in life. Remember, one of the qualities of being a black belt leader and learning to master your mindset and master your life is being kinetic, being an action taker that takes decisive action. That's an intentional choice to face fear and start it anyway. Now, as we wrap up, I want to leave a couple of additional resources with you I believe will be helpful, and at the same time, give you some tools that will help you stop procrastinating and start taking more decisive action. First is, as a thank you for attending today, I want to invite you to go to reallifemanagement.com and take our free 3-minute assessment. Why? You're going to learn a lot about yourself, your attitudinal hardwiring that we talked about earlier, including some of the reasons why you may be procrastinating. There's some insightful information there. This survey is free, so I want to encourage you to go to reallifemanagement.com and take the 3-minute survey. And if you're struggling with issues of lack of confidence or self-esteem issues, let me encourage you to go to Be a Black Belt Leader and have an opportunity to purchase my book, Master Your Self-Confidence. Or if you want even more help with that, I've created an online course based upon the book, Master Your Self-Confidence. You'll find that at beablackbeltleader.com under the courses tab. And shameless plug, if you haven't picked up my #1 best-selling book on Amazon, Black Belt Leadership 101, let me encourage you to do so. If you want to stop procrastinating, learn to be an expert and a leader in your field, your industry, your craft, or just be a black belt leader in life, you've got to know what it means to lead yourself, because the way you lead yourself is the way you're going to lead others. You can find my book at beablackbeltleader.com or on Amazon. And with that, I want to say thank you for joining me for this class on how to learn to eliminate procrastination. It's been my privilege and my pleasure to share this information, and I trust you found the insights that I've shared with you invaluable. My final thank you for attending today is I've got a list of who attended and who didn't. My follow-up with you is I'm going to send you a link to the replay so you'll have an opportunity to go through this insightful training again. And you may have a friend, a neighbor, a family member, or a coworker that you've thought about as you've gone through this training yourself that may benefit. And I encourage you and invite you to share this free masterclass resource with them so they can learn how to become a master of their mindset, eliminate procrastination, and get more things done. And by the way, if you're not following me on social media, I encourage you to do so, because every day I'm sharing insights and tips to help you learn to lead yourself better and make good choices, and how to be more decisive and move yourself forward to the success and achieving the potential that you desire. Thank you again for joining me, and have a great day.